So Andy, welcome to the Crypto Princess channel. Today we'll be talking through your crypto journey. But just before we start, if I was to meet you in high school, what kind of person were you?
Hello, Princess. Thank you very much for having me on the channel. Very interesting. When I was a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to study. I didn't want to go to university. I wanted to, work and make my own living with just a, regular job. So I just finished my GCSEs. I was kind of I wouldn't say a school drop off because I was good at math. I was okay with some, some different, I was okay at school, wasn't the best, but I just didn't want to study. So back in the day, that was 2006, where I finished the GCSEs. And I was a little bit of a rebel when I was a teenager. So I kind of wanted to, I was, a little bit bad, I would say. I don't want to go too much into detail. But I wasn't the best student, and I finished school, and I started working as a waiter. Where I'm from, we do have the summer in Spain is very big for tourism. So I started as a waiter for a few years, and then I got into welding. And when I got into welding, it was a very, I started as an apprentice. So, just cleaning up the workshop and learning.
So Andy, I understand you were born and raised in Spain, but you've got a British accent.
Yes. Well, that's because my mother is from the Isle of Man. It's an island that there is in between Ireland and England. For people, maybe people don't know where the Isle of Man is, but it's actually a country, the Isle of Man. It's part of the British Isles, but that's my mother's from there, and my mum was speaking to me in English since I was a kid. So that's where I picked up my English. Spanish is my first language, so maybe there's going to be some words that are not too great in English, even though the accent is good. But
The accent is amazing. If I was to meet you anywhere, I would think you're a Brit. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Andy, after you left school, you went on and you became a welder. Tell me what happened in 2016.
Well, I was working as a welder for a few years. I started in early 2014, and I realized that this is something that I don't want to do long term. I don't want to have my own business with metalwork and welding. I was looking at my colleagues. My colleagues were, one was half deaf, one was half blind because of the light and the noise. I didn't want to be part of that. So I was starting to think about my future, and I was researching online, how to make money online, what kind of, different, things that I could do to gain money, to basically look for an online business or something. I had no clue of what I wanted to do. And I got this pop-up about investing and trading followed after that. You get these advertisements on Facebook, and it opened curiosity on me, right? So I just started to research, on YouTube first, all the free things that are out there. I started looking for books about investing, about trading. So I bought a dozen of books. I bought them all, got them in, started reading, and I wasn't very good at it in school. Basically, if you told me, do you like reading Harry Potter or a story or history or whatever, I never liked reading, and this really got me reading. Right, my mother always says, you never read a book. You always want to do, go out on the street, skateboard or go partying, and you should be studying, going to university. Look forward for a good career, and this really, spiked something in me. So then I started reading, a lot about investing and trading, because I really wanted to step away from the welding industry, right? Because I didn't have anything else. You're either a welder or you go back to being a waiter or something. So I didn't have any studies. So started reading about about trading, about the stock market, investing. I did a bunch of courses online. So I paid a few courses. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are a waste of time, some of them you get great information. I was just really dabbling, right? So looking for different courses and information. I just wanted information.
So in 2017, you were not in crypto, you were trading stocks. Now, for crypto, 2017 was the second bull run. We went from $1,000 to just under $20,000. It was an amazing bull run. But you discovered crypto in 2018. You discovered crypto in a bear market. How did you go from trading stocks, German stocks, to crypto?
Well, as the, when we had the bull run, I knew about Bitcoin at some point in 2015 or 16. I just saw it somewhere, but didn't pay attention to it. And then 2017, obviously, when you see that bull run, you're going to start seeing pop-ups on Facebook, YouTube. You're going to start seeing people talking about it, right? This is a revolution. It's going to change the world, rest of it. And that's when I knew it, because I was seeing it popping everywhere, right? What's all this about crypto? It's all part of investing, right? It's all about, you can trade crypto, you can invest in crypto. I was in investing stocks and also trading stocks. So I transitioned into that. But instead of buying the highs, right? Instead of buying, early 2018, that's when I started, studying about Bitcoin. I got the Bitcoin standard. You start getting books about crypto and Bitcoin and understanding blockchain technology. So yeah, I was, before I invested in it, I wanted information. And as I was studying about it, the prices were going down. So I didn't buy the top. The bear market in 2018 starting. So, but then when I understood Bitcoin and then the revolution it is, I started buying Bitcoin first of all, and then other cryptos in 2018 while I was continuing my trading journey, which was not looking good. You might ask me, I started trading stocks in 2017, but I was not profitable at all. I was actually, losing money because it's just part of the journey, right? I wasn't profitable. I was just, dipping my toes and studying and trying to figure out if this can be you can make money long term on this.
So in 2018, when you first got into crypto, who helped you?
Well, nobody helped me really. There wasn't many people around, especially in my circle. Bitcoin's kind of the internet money that can be a scam. It's very risky and volatile. So I talked to my family about it, my mother, my brother, also some friends. And they were like, yeah, this is a bad idea, right? This is going to end up, disappearing out of the face of the earth, which is back now. Not many people believe that now, that people realize that it's here to stay. But 2018 was relatively soon still, even though we had a bull run. A lot of people were saying it's a speculative bubble and it's gonna pop, right, and disappear, which it kind of did, right? You entered the bear market. So nobody helped me. I just got the information. I just thought, wow, I'm interested in investing and trading more in the traditional way. Now I want to transition to this. So you kind of move your studies and investing into and from stocks to crypto. So I started buying books about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, blockchain, and also lots of technical analysis books as well. And in 2018, I started investing in Bitcoin. So I was starting to buy Bitcoin, and I managed to accumulate one Bitcoin because that was the end goal for me. When I understood that it's going to be a revolution, I understood the cycles, the 4-year cycle theory, the halving, and the technology behind it. And because I was, understanding the current financial system and the monetary system, I understand this has to be, digital gold. That was the main thing of understanding about Bitcoin. This is actually can be something very big in the next coming years. So I bought my first Bitcoin in 2018, and it wasn't easy. It took me a few months to accumulate one Bitcoin. At the time, it was, trading in between 7,000 and 9,000 when I started getting into it, and got my first Bitcoin. When I had my first Bitcoin, I was so happy, realizing, oh my goodness, this is going to go to 100,000 or $1 million, right? You have that feeling when you understand it and that potential for the future. And when I had one Bitcoin, I wanted 2 Bitcoins. So, and you started, that's and the funny thing about it is, the friends and family say, oh, you bought it at an average price of 8,000. Now it's at 10,000. I would sell some. And I'm saying, no, this is for the long term, but the aim goal is to have as much Bitcoin as you can, despite the price being at 8,000, 10,000, 5,000. It doesn't matter. This is buying for the long term. So overall, the accumulation of Bitcoin, is where it kicked in when I understood about Bitcoin in 2018.
Okay, so in 2018, we're looking at Bitcoin. You bought your first Bitcoin. Did you also discover alts in 2018? Altcoins?
Yes, more into 2019. So I
Mhm.
really focused mainly on Bitcoin. I was still continuing my trading journey. So I was still working as a welder. At the end of the month, if I had a few $100, spare, I would say, okay, this is going to be for Bitcoin. This is going to be for my trading account. So I was trying to build up my trading, right, and trying different strategies. And I was still not profitable with my trading. So that small percentage was really going to, break even. I was losing, I was winning some, I was losing. So I didn't have that long-term consistency in trading. And in 2019, right, throughout buying my first Bitcoin and accumulating more Bitcoin, the idea was having 2 Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin. So I was still buying Bitcoin as a long-term investment and leaving some capital for my trading. In 2019, I was starting to be profitable and consistently, right? So there was, the first in Q1, Q2 of 2019, I had 5 months of consistent profits, making a few thousand, nothing too crazy, right? I still had my average wage, and I was just, still getting into the game. But I was managing to make a few $1,000s a month consistently, for 5 months straight. And this for me was like, wow, I've kind of cracked the code. I'm in the zone right now. And I got into a very toxic trade, which, I ended up losing 5 months. I blew 5 months of profit, which was just under $20,000.
So this trade, was it like in the space of a day, 2 days, a week?
It was
How quickly did you lose that money?
It was just under a week, 5 to 6
Oh.
days. On the fifth, sixth day, I burnt it. I went too heavy on it. It was a swing trade. The trade was going against me. I was in a loss already, so I was adding to the position, which is something, people that follow me on my channel, they know that I'm not much of a swing trader. I look for day trading opportunities, and I go level to level, and then that's basically the strategy that I built up from since 2019, because I was saying, I'm not much of a swing trader myself. I look for the opportunities intraday. And just because I learned from that lesson, of course, it's just my style, right? Some people are scalpers, day traders, and some people are swing traders. I think swing traders make sense when you have a lot of capital and you just, you realize the higher time frame, and it's a more chilled way of trading. I just got really focused into day trading because, I had a very bad experience by not having a proper strategy on the swing trade, right? Which was just a trade that's in against you. You're losing money. You're adding to the position. You're hoping for a reversal for the price to go in your favor. And it ended up, liquidating me, right, and losing, almost $20,000, which was, back in the day in 2019 was, about 5 months of profits, and it was devastating. Really bad experience.
You were just becoming profitable.
Yeah.
Your family, although they were supportive, they didn't really understand it. And obviously, people outside of trading and investing and outside of crypto always think they know better. And then you lost 5 months of
Yeah.
profits.
Yeah.
How did you recover from that?
Well, I started slowly again. I knew if I managed to be consistent for 5 months, it was just, this is why it's very well known that I would say 100% of the traders out there, the first 6 months to a year, even 2 years, in my case, it did take a bit more time for me. You can be profitable, but you'll end up blowing your account. And, for me, I knew where I went wrong on this, because my last 5 months of trading was mainly day trading setups. Maybe a trade could be open for 2 days or 3 days. And I just I was just blinded on this position, thinking that the price, would continue to the upside, right? And was just adding to the position. And the way I recovered basically was just starting from zero, starting again with a couple of $1,000s. I actually sold a bit of my Bitcoin to get back into the trading account because I still had my Bitcoin, right? That was another thing, but I decided to get a little bit of Bitcoin so I can continue with my trading journey because I knew how to trade consistently and make profit. So I built it up slowly and consistently after that. I knew where I went wrong. It was this swing trade against, I was just adding to the position, something that for me, I'm very against that type of trading. And I slowly picked up again in mid 2019. I was making profits again after losing those 5 months. And I was actually managing to get a little bit of the profits from my trading account once I was crossing 10,000 and 20,000 profit, so I could buy more Bitcoin and buy altcoins. So I started dabbling into altcoins, right? Basically Ethereum, Chainlink, and a few of the other ones. I had about 15 altcoins, just a small diversification, because I knew the altcoins, those are the ones that could bring you 40, 50, 100x, right? As a lot of people say, right now on social media. But I just dabbled into some altcoins, and as I was making some profits, just buying more Bitcoin, Ethereum. So I was diversifying on a few altcoins. And then in 2020, I was profitable, everything good. And a lot of the profits, instead of building my account to 30, 40, 50, $60,000, right, and building my trading account, most of the profits I was taking out to invest, right, in Bitcoin and some of the altcoins. And then in 2020, the C19 crash came, right, the COVID crash, and that was devastating because that dropped 70% of my investment, right, basically
So
Bitcoin.
at
Yeah.
the time, okay, let's talk about COVID. Okay, so we've got 2018, the bear market. You came into crypto. Before that, you were dabbling into the stock market, then crypto. Then 2019, you had that incident where you lost 5 months of profits. 2020, you're now into Bitcoin and altcoins, and then COVID-19 hits. I always say about March 2020. So in March 2020, we had that correction of 63%. It was one of the worst corrections in Bitcoin's history, outside of the very, very early days. People were dying. The pandemic was hitting. Most of the world was in lockdown. You stayed in crypto. Did you not think that this invisible internet money might die out, if that makes sense, or just become invisible?
Not at all. Not at all. I knew it was the best opportunity to get into. And I knew that these events, these black swan events, or these big market crashes, because I was already understanding how the market works. But of course, this was a little bit of a black swan event, right? You didn't know how painful it could get on the markets, and it was very, 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 very drastic, right? The drop that we had in March of 2020, and I just knew that it was the best opportunity to get into. However, I was already 90% of basically my net worth was in cryptocurrency. So apart from my trading account, which was not much more than $10,000, and in the bank account, I'm happy to say this. I had a few $1,000s in my bank account. I was still working as a welder. I was just starting to become profitable. And then obviously having 90% in crypto and just seeing tens of thousands of dollars, right, suddenly down 70% with Ethereum and the altcoins, was like, wow, I haven't got the money right now. I did have a couple of $1,000s to buy some altcoins and a bit of Bitcoin. So I did manage to buy the dip, but I didn't buy hundreds of thousands of dollars because I didn't have the money. I just had a few $1,000s spare to say. So
Was this in March? Were you buying in March?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I bought
Oh,
the low on Bitcoin and on VeChain as well. VeChain is one of the altcoins that I made over a 40x on the return, which was, not much, because I think I put about $400 on VeChain, and it turned into something like, $25,000 just VeChain. So that's we'll get to that point, because that's 2021 already. But I knew it was the greatest opportunity ever. However, as you're 90% invested already in crypto, I don't have the cash, right? I wish I had it. I was thinking of getting a loan, right? You can't overtrade, right? That event, you can't. I'm going to try and trade right now and make profits so I can buy the dip, because you'll end up losing, right? If you're rushing your trades, right? So I didn't have the money. I had only a few thousand spare. So it's kind of really crazy, because you're down 70% of your net worth, and you go and buy more of
yeah.
that, what's making you lose more money. So, but I understood it was the opportunity, right? It's now or never kind of thing. So yeah.
You were very, very brave. And at this time, were you actually with your wife? Sorry, your
Um,
girlfriend.
uh, yes, I was. Yeah, in 2020, when
So
I
what
was.
does
Yeah.
she think about what you were doing?
She just believed in me. She just said, the thing is, I still had I didn't quit my job yet as a
Mhm.
welder. I did quit throughout late 2020, and that's all together with being profitable in trading, and obviously Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was starting to fly at the end of 2020 and early 2021. So at the end of 2020 is when I quit. Basically, I was making I was already a few $100,000, I'm happy to say, right? In money with crypto and my trading. My trading was consistent, so I was managing to make more money with trading than my current job consistently. And I also had a big cushion based on the investments of Bitcoin and rest of the altcoins. So I already, I said, if my trading doesn't work out for the next coming months, I could still pay my bills for the
Yeah.
next few years, right? You kind of need security first of all before you quit your job. I had so that all kind of came together in 2020 after the C19 crash, the COVID crash, because you went from very bad times to the end of 2020, extremely good times.
In 2020, you
Mm.
also decided to open a YouTube channel. What made you want to do that?
Well, yeah, it's just all part of a story, right? I was following other crypto YouTube channels, right, based on technical analysis or news or fundamentals, altcoins, right? I was following Altcoin Daily back in the day, and other different crypto YouTube channels. And I thought, I have a story here, and I know the knowledge as well, and I would like to share it also on YouTube. And I love looking at the charts and trying to analyze and predict different movements that could happen. So I thought, why not? Why not give it a go as well? Because I want to go through my trading journey. Look for different opportunities. I've been investing in this market now for over 2 years. So I wanted, I thought I have time right now, because I'm quitting my job, and I just went full forward with it. It's just something to add to my trading, right? So I had spare time. Why not open a YouTube channel and educate people, talk about trading, talk about crypto. So yeah, that was the decision.
We'll go more into your YouTube channel in
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about 2021. So that
Mm-hmm.
was 2020, the COVID crash. You bought the dip. You
Yeah.
believed in yourself. You believed in the technology. You opened a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and you went full time into crypto. Now,
Mm-hmm.
2021 was another bull run year. So we started off the year, I don't even know when, around about 10,000 US dollars, but
Mm-hmm.
we continued up. Literally, the first part of 2021, we were just going straight up until April 2021, when we hit the first high, the first peak
Mm-hmm.
of 64,000 US dollars, and then
Yeah.
the China FUD hit. we then collapsed, or the price of Bitcoin basically went down 50%, and we ranged for a good couple of months at 30,000 US dollars. Then the Bitcoins were taken off exchanges, there was a supply shock, and then slowly we went up and we made the actual all-time peak in November 2021 at 69,000 US dollars. And then after that, we slid into a bear market. The SEC around that time, SEC came in, issuing Wells notices to crypto exchanges and projects. And then there was inflation and economical concerns. Bear market begins. That's a whirlwind of a year, and it was your first crypto bull run. You also had your channel as well. First of all, how did you navigate 2021 yourself before we talk about the channel?
I actually navigated it pretty good. I could have done better. You know, I was really focused on, instead of building my trading account, investing in Bitcoin, right? I'm kind of, Bitcoin and different cryptocurrencies, but mainly most of, mainly most in Bitcoin. However, I did take I sold 25% of everything except for one altcoin, which is Chainlink. I do say that on the channel because it's just part of the story. I'm a big investor on Chainlink. But in April of 2021, and it's actually on the channel, I officially said, guys, I'm going to sell 25% of everything here, which it should have been more because we got the May dip in 2021. And I was so happy because I was in doubt of selling, right? You kind of, we're going to continue going higher, right? This, 2021 should overall still continue being bullish. But as a technical analyst, I realized that the price was exhausting throughout March and April of 2021, analyzing that chart pattern, which, entered a distribution event, a Wyckoff distribution, as they say, you realize that the momentum is losing steam to the upside. And it was just a big warning sign where maybe big money, smart money is getting out here based on these patterns. So I need to stay on the defensive side. We can never sell everything at the top and never buy everything at the bottom. So I just said, I'm selling 25% of everything because I'm starting to have big money here and I can't afford, riding a bear market. So 25% was a lot because I was buying from, the last few years. I was putting everything that I had, right? I was going all in basically, with the trading profits as well. So that's how I navigated. I was so happy that I took profit. And then throughout the next all-time high, I didn't take profits, which, I should have taken profit. Yes, no, but it did look okay. I just didn't time the market well enough in that moment. So 75% of what I bought throughout 2018 to late 2020, I rode it all the way down in 2022. So it's kind of, you ride the profits up and ride them down. But I did take 25%, and that was a lot of money still. So I should have taken more profits. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still good. Life is good. Still I got a big chunk of money, and I could survive for many years with what I made. In 2022, continued, with a trading journey and actually buying more Bitcoin as it dipped down below $30,000. So was accumulating throughout 2022 as well.
We'll come to 2022 in a minute.
Okay.
2021, you had your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of pressure navigating your first bull run with a lot of people watching you.
I always like to go back to April of 2021 and just make people aware that I'm selling some cryptocurrency here, 25% basically, just because the market looked a little bit exhausted. And as my channel is really mainly focused on Bitcoin technical analysis and trading, and we look for daily opportunities, I wasn't too affected maybe based on hate of people, as in, you told me to buy this crypto and now I'm down 50% and all of that, because I'm a very, very technical trader. And I like to see where there's good buying opportunities, and try and buy low and sell high. And when the markets are pumping, I never talk about let's ape into this crypto because it's doing well. It's pumped 200% in the last 7 days. It's all buy here. I would always look at corrections, right? Like wait for a dip, like wait for a sign of weakness, for the price to go down and consolidate. And I kind of navigate intraday. So I didn't get too much pressure because I'm an intraday trader, and we look for daily opportunities most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So that was 2021 bull run. Well done for taking profits. Some things that you round tripped on, but I think a lot of people round tripped in 2021. Let's talk about 2022. So after November 2021, we slid into a bear market. In bear market, even fundamentally strong projects can go to zero almost overnight. We had many black swan events. We had Celsius, we had Luna, we had FTX, we had Voyager, we had 3 hours Capital. It was your second bear market. Tell me about that.
Well, based on buying Bitcoin, ever since Bitcoin went below $30,000, I was very
And
much
that was in, I think it was that in Q1 or Q2, but it was quite early in 2021.
Throughout late Q1, Q2 of 2022, we were already starting getting below $30,000, and I was very much in favor of let's accumulate, right? As an investor as well, and understanding that this will recover in the next coming months or give or take a couple of years, but it's already a good moment to start DCAing. You never know if it's going to bottom out at 10,000, 15 or 20,000, but overall have that long-term mentality of if you've got some spare money at the end of the month. I mean, not saying it to everyone. I was just saying this is what I'm doing. I'm starting to buy up again. Throughout you can see it on YouTube as well. I was very much in favor of, apart from trading, that we focus on day trading opportunities. Some of the profits I'm putting into Bitcoin. I'm buying Bitcoin based on the day trading profits that we're making. And I was just very much in favor of buy the dip. And I know it's very hard because as the price is in a very heavy downtrend and you buy, next week it's going to be down even lower, right? And you're going to start saying people, oh, we're going so much lower. Why are you buying now? You obviously get all of that, people. And I say, look, this is going to be worth $100,000 in the future, right? I don't care buying at 30, 20, 15, 10. I want to accumulate because I know it'll end up, I know we're going to go higher. I don't know how low we're going to go, but what I do know is that we'll eventually reverse at some point, right, in the next coming months or give or take 1 to 2 years. So, I was hopefully some people listened for the long term because I was very much in favor of saying below 30K, we are buying for the long term.
So we bottomed out in November 2022. I know you're very much into your charts. Were you sort of aware that this was roughly the bottom, or were you thinking we'll go down to 10K? I think we bottomed out at around about 15K, didn't we?
At that time, there was a lot of people saying that we will go down to $10,000. It was the kind of main topic. But just as in 2021, when we peaked out above $60,000, people were calling for $100,000. So, like I mentioned, I was still obviously buying, accumulating, and just navigating throughout the internal movements, based level to level, day trading setups, but was still very much in favor of saying, guys, I don't know if we're going to go down to 12,000 or 10,000. When these events happen, when everything is crumbling, which is FTX, Celsius, BlockFi also was a very, very well-known lending platform. I'm not sure if you remember BlockFi, but that collapsed as well. And they all collapsed in the same few weeks, making, crypto look horrible, right? Crypto is the worst. Look at all of these companies, failing and going bankrupt. Crypto's a scam directly. And you have that, oh my goodness, how bearish can it get? This has to be near the bottom, right? When there's such big bearish sentiment. So just buy the dip. And if it keeps dipping, we buy more.
Awesome. So after 2022, 2023, the prices did start to go up, and then obviously they were going up into all of 2022. And then, but it was pretty much, it did actually feel like a bear market. And then obviously 2023, the price started to go up. And then last year, 2024. How was 2024 for you? Because I know you had your big move to Dubai as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had to make this move. This was all, related with tax and, not, it was starting to get a bit crazy back in Spain for me for tax reasons. And I was getting to know a lot of people that are living in Dubai and how wonderful Dubai is. Apart from the summer, it's absolutely boiling in the summer. It's very hard. I'm leaving in the summer, by the way. Most of the people do. But for tax reason, and it's kind of crypto friendly as well. And I thought, I'm in a very good position at the moment. Why not take the chance and move there? We can always come back to Spain or live wherever in the world. With this current, when you're trading, you got a YouTube channel as well. You realize that you can live anywhere. So worst case scenario, I don't like Dubai, and I leave next year or whenever, right? I can leave whenever I want when you have that financial freedom of living, wherever you want in the world. So moved to Dubai. I've been here over a year now, and it's good, but I'm not sure if I'm going to live here for long term, for 10 years. I would say maximum 5 years. My dream is to have my own, country house, big country house, and, have my chickens and have my, I've been always a village boy more than a city boy. So something like Jason Casper. I really admire Jason Casper because he lives in the country in the US, which is absolutely awesome. So I'm aiming for that. This is just a journey, financial journey that I've decided to take for a few years.
Okay, awesome. And that's the freedom that crypto can give people as well. Going back to 2024, last year we had a lot happened. We had the ETFs approved, which up until that moment, it kind of seemed like a distant dream. But all of a sudden, they got approved. We had Germany selling its Bitcoin, which was crazy. We had Donald Trump running and winning on crypto, or running, and then we had our first crypto president. We had the Trump coin. We had institutions, a lot more institutions coming into crypto, and a lot of legitimacy was added to crypto. Last year Bitcoin began, I think the low for Bitcoin was something like $38,000, and we made an all-time high before the halving. But the actual all-time high for last year was like $108,000. What was your crypto journey like last year?
It was. It was, you realize, where we're heading, right? With all of this, like you mentioned, the first cryptocurrency president, right? Donald Trump. ETFs have been approved, so that is, the adoption signs are absolutely massive, and it's happening. Me starting in crypto in 2018. All of this was a dream, right? It was like, it's going to happen in the future, right? We're going to see ETFs, we're going to see large companies and institutions and banks even buying Bitcoin, and even countries buying Bitcoin. And it's kind of that dream coming true in the end. So everything was falling into place in 2024, last year, basically. So you just realize how bullish everything is, right? So I was just really hyped up of what is to come. And altcoins haven't performed that well compared to Bitcoin, but this is why I've always said, and I've always given my opinion on Bitcoin should be your biggest holding in a crypto portfolio always, because it's at the end of the day, it is going to outperform every single cryptocurrency, even though some cryptos might do a 50x or 100x return, but it will crash down much more aggressively and Bitcoin will hold on those gains much better in the long term. So it's just kind of math, right? It's you know, all of these altcoins will end up, you know, losing their value against Bitcoin long term. So Bitcoin number one in this case, right? So anyway, in 2024, you realize how bullish everything is. So you're still holding, still, you know, not buying at the moment. I've actually sold a little bit, but we'll go into this year now. But yeah, 2024, very excited for the future for Bitcoin and crypto.
Let's talk about your YouTube channel as well. So now you've had the
Yeah.
YouTube channel. I mean, even in 2024, you had the YouTube channel for a couple of years. What
Yeah.
exactly goes into planning an episode?
Well, you know, I'm very technical. I don't usually. I like to talk about new. I mainly do live streams, so I do like to take a look at the latest news, even though if it's like, you know, the FOMC, you know, Federal Reserve press conference, the interest rate decision or inflation, I take that into consideration. If there's any good news of a, you know, a large company buying more crypto or more Bitcoin, sorry, or MicroStrategy, you know, Michael Saylor buying more Bitcoin as well. It's fun to talk about. You know, it's just information and signs of adoption just to take into consideration for the long term. So maybe that is like 10 minutes or 20 minutes of my live stream, but most of, you know, my content is purely based on Bitcoin technical analysis. You know, I would say 90% of people that follow me are here just to know my opinion on the Bitcoin technical analysis, and mainly every day to try and, you know, see if it is more bullish or if it's more bearish. So I would say, you know, it's purely Bitcoin technical analysis. But I do sometimes, you know, I have a few tabs open on interesting news that, you know, that I do see on X with my morning coffee. You know, I like to scroll down through the different news that's going on, and you know, I always talk about it on the content as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. I lurk on your live streams quite a lot. I have them playing in the background. Let's talk about 2025. A lot of legitimacy, like I said, has been given to the crypto space. We've had so much bullish news, but the bull run hasn't performed like a lot of people thought it would play out. How has 2025 been for you so far?
I have to say it's been okay. I do realize that the movement down that we had since January when Donald Trump, you know, entered as president, the inauguration day was actually the top at $109,000. So the day he came, you know, he entered as president, it was the top locally in January, right, at $109,000. I actually sold 10% of my entire Bitcoin holdings that I've accumulated throughout the last few years. I sold 5% at $90,000 range, and I said it publicly on YouTube, and another 5% in at $100,000 area. So I was happy about that when we started correcting that I did sell some. I wish I would have sold a little bit more, but as the price movement was happening in February, March, April, I realized that this movement down looks very corrective. There's not too much volume, not too much selling pressure, and there's still too much bullish news apart from this little crash event that we had based on the tariffs, right, with China and the rest of the countries around the world, with the USA, with the US. You know, you just realize that you know, it's not the bear market yet. You know, I realize this movement to the downside doesn't feel, you know, like bear market price action. And, you know, recovery was very much expected at some point. You know, the highest probability was looking at the price to get a bounce at some point this year, and look for higher prices. You know, and that was signals from the technical analysis on the higher time frame. And it was also still, you know, bullish macro events, you know, companies and the ETFs, you know, but still, you know, lots of macro bullish events for Bitcoin of signs of adoption. And also, you know, the retail, right? There's lots of analytics that say that retail are not in. When you do go to Google Trends and you see how many people have been searching for Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, best altcoins, you put all of these keywords that, new people would put on Google or YouTube or wherever, and it was very, very low. And that, usually when you get close to a high on a market cycle, is when a lot of people are in, right? And a lot of people want to buy. You start getting friends, family talking about, hey, these cryptos are doing great, right? Is it time? Should I buy some because it's, going to go to higher levels? It's the future. This sentiment was not there a few months ago. So, and you can see it on the analytics, that we haven't got the retail FOMO in, and that's one of the best signals for a high. So, you just realize, calm down, guys. This will recover at some point in the next coming weeks, if not a few months. So, yeah, just navigating the correction.
So since 2016, 17 up until now, I know you're very much looking into charts, etc. What is your trading strategy like? I think there's quite a bit of Elliott waves in there, isn't there? But other
Yes.
things as well. Tell me
Yeah.
about your trading strategy.
Well, as I mainly I've always focused on intraday trading setups. Of course, Elliott Wave does give you those projections that where the price could reach, right? Like a bit on the higher time frame. But my strategy is mainly focused on major important levels. I use volume profile a lot, so I realize where the price is finding big resistance with high confluence, and I use daily levels, weekly levels, pointer controls, which is from the volume profile. I use a lot of Fibonacci as well.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, when you use it together, you will have some levels. All of these different tools that I use, at some point there will be, all of these levels will align at some point on the chart. And when you have all of those levels piled up on that price, you realize how much resistance or support it can have, right? I use volume weighted average price a lot for intraday, which is just it's like a moving average that's on the chart, and it provides a lot of resistance and support. And you put that together with all the different tools, and that becomes either a buying level if it's below price action, or a selling level if it's above price action. And I usually look for 1% to 2% moves on average. So that's about $1,000 to $2,000 moves on Bitcoin now that it's at $100,000. So that's the kind of usually ranges that I look for, right? If we can catch, one of these trades that it can make a move of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, we always try and leave a small percentage of the position open just in case it gets an extra push. But we always, I say we, but this is like what I kind of teach on my channel. Be very defensive, right? One of my key things when I educate people is risk management, right? If your position is in a profit and you're making a 3-to-1 risk reward against your stop loss, you cannot turn that into a losing trade, right? Be defensive, right? You put your stop loss at entry or at break even. And if we break out these levels of resistance of confluence based on pointer controls or the VWAP, right? Then of course we will still maintain that position open just for an extra profit.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Jolly good. So I remember when we first started the interview, you didn't have much support when you first got into crypto, but now you have a wonderful community around you. Like I say, I'm always lurking on your live streams. Sometimes I do say hi, but your community is absolutely amazing. Tell me about them.
Well, the community is awesome. They're there to learn. I got a lot of people that are very grateful for the education, because a lot of people are here for the education. A lot of them are for setups, right? People want to make money at the end of the day, right? And you do get that small percentage of a community, right, or people following you that what's the next setup? Where do I sell? Where do I buy? And as an educator, you can never say, as a non-financial advisor, right? I can never tell you buy now, right? Or you always say, this is kind of the level where I would enter. This is where I would put my stop loss. You kind of need to go with that, with that kind of talking. But yeah, my community are very, they're very happy, and they do see the long-term potential. There's a lot of people start getting it very, very fast. Some people just throw the towel, because you need to be quite consistent when you're trading. This whole thing about trading for an hour or 2 hours a day, on the beach with your phone, is all a big fat nonsense. You need to put the time, the first couple of hours in the morning, to really plan a few trades. And me as an intraday trader, I look for shorts and I look for longs, despite that we are in a range or in an uptrend or a downtrend. I always look for a long and I always look for a short at the best levels. So you plan that, with the technical analysis, and it does take time. And, I would say there's you got that some people that do really appreciate it and they want to take trading seriously. And then you have the other part that's like, where are we going, up or down? So, but yeah, most of the legit followers, they do appreciate the education, and they do see the potential.
I think when people first get into trading, they don't actually realize how much discipline and
Yeah.
focus and how much experience and everything that's required to
Mm-hmm.
trade. No, your community is absolutely lovely, and they always say hi, and they're so kind as well. So tell me, what's next for you? You've achieved so much, not just in your investment journey, in your trading journey, with your community, with your YouTube channel, the knowledge that you have. What's next?
Well, I think what's next is, I'm living in Dubai right now, and I'm very well financially set. But it's all about starting to think in getting into real estate as a diversification. But I'm not too sure if I want to invest in, buy a house here in Dubai. At the end of the day, I think I'm just here for a few years, and what's next in my journey is, you know, I think I will continue, obviously, trading, because it's a passion, and you know that it's you can make money out of this long term. So I think this is just part of my life right now. It's just going to be always like that. But now my decision on what is next is, how long do I want to be here in Dubai? Do I want to buy a house here? Do I want to raise a family here, and just you stay here, or do I want to travel the world, right? Do I want to go around the world while I'm doing my trading? Do I want to buy something that went through my mind and my girlfriend was, shall we get a caravan, right, and travel the world, and get one of the get the Starlink, and get internet on your caravan, and just how that would be part of the story as well, and content, right? Trading and creating education on YouTube while you travel the world. So I'm in that spot that I don't know what I want to do. I love trading. I love making money. I just don't know what to do with it. So and that's
That's such a first world problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
exactly. It's a very, very lucky position, I have to say. My girlfriend says you're very bored. You're very bored. We look at all the things that we can do, going out for dinners and all of that is okay here. We've had a good time with doing different activities here in Dubai and rest of it. But now it's that moment. Do we stay here? Do we travel? Do we change country? And for the moment, I think I'm going to be here a couple of years. But overall, what is fascinating is, I can do whatever I want. You would say, right? Yeah, I have that. Uh, the I'm in a lucky position at the moment, and I'm just very comfortable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One gets very comfortable with the lifestyle and where he is. But yeah, I think traveling the world is probably going to be something in the next coming years.
No, that's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
good problem. It's a good problem to have. I like it. Um, Thank you so much, Andy, for coming
Yeah.
onto the channel and sharing your crypto story with us. I've absolutely really enjoyed talking to you and learning your story.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on the channel. And actually, I have to get you on the channel. Come and join a live stream.
Anytime, anytime.